Hi, thank you for letting me be here. I'm Alexandra Morton, and I came to this beautiful archipelago 23 years ago to study killer whales. As a result, for the last 20 years, I've been living amongst your salmon farms, your sites long before Cermaq owned them. At first, I thought salmon farming was a good idea. I thought it'd be good for my community and good for the wild salmon. But now, I feel differently. My community is dying of salmon farming, along with our fish. I no longer study whales because there are no whales. I study sea lice around your salmon farms. Aquaculture has fed people for 10,000 years, but farming salmon, a carnivore, that breaks fundamental natural laws. Because salmon are nomads, and thus the youngest fish never meet the oldest fish. This breaks the cycle and prevents disease from harming their populations. When adult Pacific salmon return to our coast to spawn, they all die. So in spring, the newly born salmon enter a sea washed clean by the tides all winter. But your fish farms break these important natural laws. They're feedlots, holding as many salmon as possible, fattening them as fast as possible, in the least expensive way. No one today would place a chicken farm among wild geese and ducks. We know this spreads avian flu with severe consequences to humanity. But your farms are placed in areas of this archipelago where the currents flow right through them. And so it's the same thing. Your salmon farms are placed among wild migrating Canadian salmon, but also salmon migrating to and from the United States. I've studied the plague of sea lice around your salmon farms for 7 years now. I'm director of a research station where they are studying the sea lice around your salmon farms. And I'm working with the Canadian federal government studying the sea lice around your salmon farms. Your mainstream farm in the Birdwood Islands is at the heart of a wild and beautiful archipelago. Entire rivers of young wild salmon pour through and along the nets of your pens. But my colleagues and I have found that up to 95% of the young salmon that are swimming by the nets of your farms are dying of sea lice. In addition to parasites, in 2003, the Birdwood, Simoom Sound, Cypress Harbor, and Sir Edmund Bay salmon farms were infected with a virus called IHN. This virus kills wild salmon and herring, and yet our herring were migrating through it. You sold fish from these pens to the market. When I tried to take your Birdwood farm to court for releasing sea lice, a lawyer assigned by the provincial government let you go on a technicality. However, he stated that, in his opinion, sea lice from your Birdwood farm was killing a population of wild salmon. Canada really needs its wild salmon. They are food. They fertilize our soil, and they grow our forests. Wild salmon are also the foundation of the largest growing industry in this province, tourism. And our coastal communities simply must have wild salmon. Cermaq does not hire a single person in my community. We are entirely based on wild salmon. And yet your salmon farms are all around us. They're in places that our government told us there would never be salmon farms. Today, the impact of humanity on our Earth is so severe, we now know we have permanently damaged our world, us. It is surely a crime to kill off a world-class food resource, the wild salmon. Wild salmon are the bloodstream of the Eastern Pacific. They are our future. I see them as sacred and offer them a blessing every spring in the Birdwood Islands to wish these tiny silver fish safe passage to sea and home to us. You don't need to kill our wild salmon, do you? I mean, I fear that you want to own the market. I wonder if it would be better for Cermaq if there were no wild salmon left to sell. But you should be aware there's an army of young scientists working around your salmon farms today, and we will bring the weight of this to bear where it belongs. British Columbia needs wild salmon, and we cannot afford to stand quietly and watch the destruction of what belongs to our children, and ultimately, your children too. If you must farm salmon, tell your Canadian managers to lead the way in building better technology just to separate your fish from ours. Make sure that when you get tired of farming salmon in British Columbia, that there's something left for us. There's solutions to this, but it's up to you, the shareholders, to make the decision. Thank you.
Down to the sea, the river is flowing, flowing.